Good evening, dear students. I am Ravan Siddhappa MB, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Namthi, Davanagere District. And this is the 9th paper. It is an elective paper. The title is 20th Century Literature's First, prescribed by Davanagere University, Davanagere. And BA degree program, optional English, 6th semester, session number 49, and the topic is D.H. Lawrence's Sons and Lovers, chapter number 5 and its discussion. These are the learning objectives and session outcomes. In this session, I am trying my level best to enable the students to understand Paul as the head of the house now, due to some reasons, and the session outcomes are like this. Students will be able to understand Moral's leg got fractured in the mines, and the second session outcome is students will understand Paul getting job in Nottingham. These are the two important session outcomes of this session. Coming to recapitulation, during the last session we have discussed Paul's childhood and his description and the disease he is suffering from, and his mother's care for him and her fear for his survival and all those things. Okay, coming to Paul's childhood, he is described as he is pale, quiet and small child who looks like his mother. This is the description of Paul in this novel. And he is extremely conscious of what others feel, especially his mother. He thinks his soul seemed always attentive to her. He has a close bond with his mother. Bondage, as I told you, is one of the major themes of this novel. And this is what I have described about Paul during the last session. Apart from that, he is a delicate boy, and he is subject to bronchitis, and his mother had feared he would not survive, leaving her with a mixture of anguish in her love for him. That also I told you. But when Paul falls sick, his father was by his side, but all the times he expects his mother to be with him. And I told you that Paul loved to sleep with his mother. Sleep is still most perfect in spite of hygienists when it is shared with a beloved. Sleep is best. But he always prefers to sleep with his mother. Related to this, I also given a hint that it is nothing but an Oedipal kind of love that is taking place in this novel as a whole, and it is also one of the major themes of this novel. It is running throughout the novel. And I also told you one more thing, that William, who is in London, he came back home to celebrate a Christmas festival. During that time he had brought the costly gifts and also fancy sweets to everyone in the home. And apart from this, we have one more important incident that takes place in the last chapter, chapter number 4, that Paul breaks Anne's doll. This is also very important. And when William goes to London for work, during that time Paul always spends his time with his sister, elder sister Anne. And when he jumps accidentally, but jumps off on the favorite doll of Anne, and it has a China face. It was very favorite doll of Anne, but accidentally it was broken. It was broken, so that Anne was absolutely heartbroken and disheartened. She wept over it because she has lost that doll. But 2 days later, Anne's doll is being burnt by Paul. So he told her that it is a kind of sacrifice. Look at the phraseology used by Paul for putting an end for that doll. So this is being understood during the last session, and these are the important concepts of the last chapter. Now let us directly go for the next chapter number 5. The heading of the chapter number 5 is like this: Paul launches into life. This is the heading. See, in the first part of the uh, chapter, we have an incident that describes how Moral's leg get fractured. We know that he was a coal miner. Every day he used to go to mines for work. That was his duty. Well, by this time William has completed 1 year doing job in London. He became very famous among his friends because of his outlook and also personality. By that time, Mr. Morel, who is a worker in the mines, has got his leg fractured at work, and immediately he was taken to the hospital. And during this time, all the family members are actually anxious, but Mrs. Morel, Gertrude Morel, is guilt. She is guilt because she no longer loves her husband. However, she feels sorry for him because he is her husband, but is mostly indifferent to his pain. Though his leg is badly smashed but starts healing in a week. During this situation, the author D.H. Lawrence has given one description. It was totally wonderful. And let us go for the next slide. See, when his father, Mr. Morel, is in the hospital, the family enjoys the peacefulness in the house because the house doesn't have Mr. Morel now. He is in the hospital. So there is no quarrel between their father and mother. That is the point. Paul joyfully becomes the man in the house now. It means to say he is behaving as if he is the head of the family now. And Paul is 14 years old now and he is looking for a job. And actually he prefers more artistic pursuits like painting, apart from reading was his one of the hobbies. His ambition is to share a cottage with his mother after his father dies. In the last session, I told you that Paul always prays his father must die in the accident that takes place in the mines. Okay, so that is his wish. Otherwise, he will put his. Otherwise, his father will actually kill his wife, that is Mrs. Morel, because every day the quarrels are common and they end by beating up of Mrs. Morel by Mr. Morel. So that is the point here. So that he want to purchase a cottage and he wants to live with her like a sweetheart. So this is his ambition in his life. So in a way he is somewhat emotionally drained, and emotionally this taste is not good at all, and it is said to be the Oedipal love. This is actually not accepted by any tradition or culture. Fine. And he wants to spend his life painting and going out whenever he likes and wherever he likes. He wants to make a big trip with his mother by by painting and getting the money out of his intellectual pursuit. See, by the time William easily climbs London's social ladder. He studied Latin to accelerate his legal career, and earlier he had promised that he would send £1 every month, but he has almost stopped sending any money, and instead he was spending much of the money and time for Lily. So this is to be noticed. Mr. Morel now runs on the wooden leg. It is actually disgusting thing. So this is what we have seen in this chapter. So apart from that, he received a letter from surgical factory of Jordan's. Now let us. Yes. See, when he received a letter from the surgical factory, appliances factory of Mr. Jordan, both mother and son have decided to go to that factory and to attend the interview and all those things. See, during that time, there is the wonderful description. See, Thomas, yes, during that time, his mother is gay like a sweetheart. Look at the phrases he used there. And Paul's heart contracted with pain of love of her when he saw her hands in their old black kid gloves. They sit opposite each other on the train, and when their eyes meeting, his mother smiled to him, a rare, intimate smile, beautiful with brightness and love. Just like the lovers, both of them sit opposite sides, and they are smiling each other. As they walk to the interview, they both feel the excitement of lovers having an adventure together. This is the description of that situation. When they meet Mr. Jordan, he is abrupt and irritable with Paul, first insulting his handwriting, then demanding he to translate a letter from French into English. However, he was appointed as the junior spiral clerk in the factory. So he is to copy the letters and to write orders for the girls who are working in the factory. So this is the thing, and ultimately he is successful in getting a job here in this factory. Soon after that, both of them, when they attended that interview, eat an expensive dinner after that interview, and browse several shops before returning home. Paul feels he has had a perfect day with his mother and ultimately gets a job. See, just like how the lovers browse shops to purchase the things, just like the lovers, both the mother and son have been to different shops and they purchased the things they need. That is the important thing that takes place here. See, soon after that, we know that I already told you, William is almost climbs the social ladder, it is according to the wishes and ambitions of Mrs. Morel. They must not work in the factory. They must work in the factory is the ambition of Mr. Morel, but it is the mother's ambition. They must not work in the factory. Work in the mines. Work in the mines. They must get education, and they must work other than such mines works. Okay, that is the point. And in this mission, our sons are almost successful. Paul is showing his extraordinary talent in painting. That is the thing. And William has met a tall and elegant young lady at a dance and is quite attracted to her. So here in this situation, I would like to give the flashback of the first chapter, in which his mother, Gertrude Morel, is equally attracted by the dance and the singing of Mr. Morel. Here it is the opposite. Their son, who is attracted towards a girl in the who is dancing, and who is tall and elegant young lady. So he is attracted towards her, and her name is Louisa Lily Dennis Western. Louisa Lily Western, Dennis Western. But William calls her Gypsy instead of Lily. William sends home a revealing photograph of his lady, Louisa Lily Dennis Western. And in that photograph, the girl looks handsome, indecent. Okay, handsome and brunette. She was an handsome and brunette. Other than that photo looks indecent to Mrs. Morel because she has bare shoulders in it to the mother. So she did not accept that girl. And apart from that, he also sent one more photograph of Louisa Lily Dennis Western, so in which she is in evening dress. Both of the photos have irritated Mrs. Morel, and she has rejected, because otherwise she would lose her son permanently for Lily Dennis. That is a kind of jealousy in her, so that she has rejected both the photos apart from that lady. See, by this time, as Paul got a job there in Jordan's factory, see, he has attended for duty, and he was working under the supervision of Mr. Papleworth as the junior clerk. I already told you to copy the letters and to write the orders for the girls who are taking the job of making the stockings. Stockings is one of the important themes in this novel. You need to understand. That is the point here. And when he got a job in that factory, his mother is extremely proud of her second son, Paul. And in that factory, he befriends the girls who work there in that factory. Polly, an overseer with whom he starts having dinner. And it was the 12-hour day work. Look at the workers' conditions there in England in the early 20th century. Okay, and however, he was slow in writing in the beginning, but he has improved gradually by the suggestions of Mr. Papleworth, who was the supervisor of Paul in the factory. And then there is another girl, her name was Connie. She was an attractive redhead whom he romanticizes. And apart from her, there are few more girls. Their names are Louis. Louis was always Louis is a very playful girl with whom he always jokes. And Emma is the another worker in that factory. and she is an old condescending woman. And apart from her, there is one more girl, that is Fanny, a lovely hunchback, and he becomes very friendly with Fanny also. Girls learn that Paul is an artist. They suggest that he should draw Fanny each night. He gives his mother his earnings and tells her of his day. So, just like how the lovers share the day's experiences, so also the mother and son have shared their day's experiences with each other. So, this is the overall plot of this particular chapter number 5. Now let me tell you some analytical points of this chapter. See here, the narrative focuses not from Mrs. Moral's side but from Paul's side. That is to be noticed here. And in the absence of his father, Paul becomes the man in the house. He becomes a kind of head in the home. And again, Oedipal feelings for his mother continues to manifest themselves in the dream of sharing a cottage with his mother someday. So this is his ambition that I already told you. And Mrs. Morel prepares to rush to the hospital when her husband is being hospitalized there in Nottingham Hospital due to his legs fracture. See, she hurriedly taking off her bodice in front of Paul, and her son admires her handsome, strong arms. It is nothing but the Oedipal love of mother and son. Mother and son travel to Nottingham together and act like sweethearts, smiling eyes, meeting and feeling the excitement of lovers. See, these are all connotating actually the Oedipal love. That is the point. And apart from that, there is one more important theme of the novel that takes place. Passion has overcome both sons, but in different ways. See, passion, that is one of the life force of any young man. So that overcomes from both the sons, but in a different ways. While Paul dreams of his mother, William has broken through those maternal bonds and fallen in love with Lily. So this is the nothing but the passion that arouses from both of our sons. And however, the photos of the girls he loves are sent to his mother, and those photos are rejected by the mother because of jealousy alone. And stockings is another important motif of this novel that we come across. It is also referred in this chapter, and it is actually representing the factory where Paul goes to work, and then the servitude of the woman working there. Stockings signify women and women's roles, and the symbolism extends to the woman creating the stockings. Okay, so there are a few more girls: Polly, Louis, Connie, Emma. See, these are all the women who are representing the what we call servitude or the bondage, because to lead their life they are bound to the work in that factory. Apart from that, geography also plays an important role in this novel as a whole. We have Nottingham and Bestwood. See, both. I mean, what I mean, Paul Morel is actually from Bestwood, and now he got a job there in Nottingham. Bestwood is dark and dirty just because of the mines and all those things. But Nottingham is with its canals, castle, shops and flowers stands in stark contrast to Bestwood. So this is also noted in this chapter. See, the importance of education is seen in this chapter as a whole. Just because of the education, both the sons of Mr. and Mrs. Morel, they are William has got a job there in England, and Paul Morel has got a job there in Nottingham, and education has the capacity and the power to change the social conditions and class of any family, so that education in this chapter plays a very vital role in this chapter. So these are the important concepts of this chapter what I come across. Thank you.